There are many words that could describe George and Anfisa's relationship in 90 Day Fiancé. But memes sum it up best. 90 Day Fiancé star Darcy Silva has posted about her weight loss journey on social media, and fans do not know what to think about yet another makeover from the reality star. Darcy has undergone multiple procedures to improve her appearance, and fans cannot help but wonder if her changes are tied to a bigger issue regarding her insecurities and love life. But Darcy is not the only one that has kept their fans posted with her most recent news on social media, and Anfisa has done the same. After participating in the show and finally leaving George, Anfisa has come a long way in her modeling career and has gotten U.S. citizenship. However, nobody can forget the toxic relationship that brought her to the United States in the first place, as there have been few others as explosive and intense. Although people tend to judge Anfisa for only wanting George's money, nobody can't deny that she was very clear about that from the beginning and expressed how, in order for her to stay in the relationship, she needed the big bucks. She wanted George to handle all the matters related to money, including handling debt and giving her the money she demanded. As seen with the Bugs Bunny depicted in the meme, the creator makes an allusion to communism in that everything they have was shared in Anfisa's eyes, and there was no his and hers if it was something she wanted. Her conditions were a bit harsh, but she never lied about her intentions in the relationship, and George agreed to all of it. One of the most important things that must be known about Anfisa is that she has an explosive temper. Once triggered, she is capable of destroying anything in her way, including cell phones, George, or his car, as this meme hilariously points out. As fans know, she usually reacts to her aggressive and unacceptable behavior as if it was irrelevant and much less concerning than it is, which makes it all more hilarious for the audience, but much more exasperating for George. So what? Is nothing. Could be considered her signature phrase to resolve any conflict with her then-husband, which is as funny as it is troublesome. Anfisa was always brutally honest about her intentions in the relationship. However, George seemingly wanted to pretend their relationship was based on unconditional love, even though both knew that wasn't the case. George was into Anfisa's looks, and Anfisa was into George's money. As the meme points out, Anfisa laid truth bombs throughout the marriage that reminded George over and over again about their terms. Given that their marriage was so brutally honest, at least on Anfisa's part, many of the quotes that perfectly sum up Anfisa and George's relationship emphasize her terms for their marriage, like "I'm only with you for your money, and if I was fat and ugly, would you date me?" Anfisa was physically and verbally abusive throughout their marriage, but George, for one reason or another, always decided to forgive her and stay by her side, which drove many fans to point out how much shame George should feel for coming back with someone as despicable as Anfisa, as this meme shows. It is almost hard to feel bad for George, considering how oblivious he acts throughout the relationship, but it is also difficult to not feel a little pity for him. It is indeed shameful that he was never able to set boundaries and move on to a healthier relationship sooner. One of the most unforgettable quotes that perfectly sum up Anfisa is the one used in this meme. As fans remember, in a dramatic meltdown, Anfisa called George to scream at him to come back home. Yet, once the moment is one of the highlights of the couple that proves how demanding Anfisa was in the relationship and how terrible their relationship was in general. The aggressive nature of the call had many viewers at the edge of their seats, and later on, everyone started to use the phrase in their daily lives, or maybe even to demand another episode of 90 Day Fiancé, just like Anfisa would to George. More than a loving relationship, George and Anfisa had a business deal. However, George insisted on trying to transform the relationship into something else and expected Anfisa to act like a loving wife, no matter what, especially when he admitted that he didn't have the money he previously bragged about. George's insistence on Anfisa loving him for him and not his money, even though it was clear that was not the case, leaves no question as to why Anfisa and George were one of the 90 Day Fiancé couples that got divorced. as the meme points out George was naive to say the least. George had a hard time understanding Anfisa, not because she spoke Russian, but because of how contradictory she was all the time. She always said something she didn't mean or expected Georgie to do the exact opposite of what she said. Like this hilarious meme points out, audiences could only watch in horror and laughter the many times Anfisa told George to leave, only for him to actually do so and then get yelled at for it. Communication is key to a successful relationship, and Anfisa proved how tricky communicating with a partner can be. In one of Anfisa and George's most iconic and hilarious moments, she yelled at George to bring her red bag with her makeup, and although it was a real fight, most couldn't stop laughing at the absurdity of the heated moment. Anfisa's satiety with her then former husband was also really relatable, and most females can't deny the very real urge that sometimes surges in a heated argument that drives anyone to yell a stupid, angry request, just like this meme depicts. Unlike the rest of the stars in 90 Days, Fiancé, Anfisa and George never had a particularly